Welcome to The Prize Inside. A chiropractor's journey in everyday holistic health and vitality. Here, your host, Dr. Jeremy Myers, delves into the remarkable journeys of everyday people who have embraced the path to health and healing. Through his practice, Dr. Jeremy encounters inspiring stories of profound transformation and the power of true healing within each of us. Stay tuned as we discuss various holistic topics and unlock the healing potential that lies within us all.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the 1% Tribe, right? The Prize Inside stuff for a few things tonight. One is it's our motivation night. So each week we talk about a different topic. So tonight's mind. So there's thoughts, toxins, trauma. That's all the different things that get us, right? Some from physical thoughts. And then you have trauma, and then you have toxins, right? So each week we try to go over one of those different aspects. And this week is no different. This week is it's going to be a little shorter version of what we got going, just because Rachel and I went on so for her 50th birthday, she wanted to go on a hiking expedition. And we went to a place called Hocking Hills, Ohio. And we hiked, I want to say 12 miles, 6 different caverns and waterfalls and stuff. So I want to show you that, and then go into some motivation tonight and see how you guys like it. I looked up some great quotes from some people that I love, and hopefully we can enjoy it. And there's not going to be a ton, tonight. It might end a little early, but hopefully it'll be worth your time. So let's go into the first part. I always say, if you want to join my Rumble channel, make sure you do that. I'm up to 42 subscribers now. So I'll put that in the comments section. So in there is the Rumble. And then if you really like, if you like podcasting, which is Apple, and we're doing really well on podcasting aspects. So if you want to rewatch any of these again, I'm getting a pretty good library going for everybody. So as we go, here is the podcast version. So just let you know that. Okay, so now before we go into this 1% tribe, we always look up a couple things, a couple interesting things that kind of lead us into Wednesday, which is Whole Health Weekly. So Whole Health Weekly is our Wednesday night show where we go into the topics of the week. And so I'll give you a couple little nuances. We don't go into the article as much as we do on Wednesday, but here's some latest news in the market today. So, the big supplement, 2 different supplements that have made the market, and they're about liver detoxification. I'm going to tell you, if you go back to my thing, my either podcast or show on what it was called choleretics and cholagogues, that'll give you a really good idea in the herbal world what that is. But liver detox is making a trend, which could be good, could be very good. You just have to be careful. You got to know what you're doing on a lot of those. And so make sure, you can mess yourself up pretty decent on those without knowing that they're a problem. So just remember, like, they're out there. Liver. Hello, Julie. How are you? That's right. I got to put that up there. Hi, Julie. It's good. Hopefully tonight will be fun. So remember the liver detox. It's always good to do them. The problem is like understanding them. So it's not something you want to do all the time, right? So we went over that in Whole Health Weekly, where we don't want to really replace what our body does for us, right? So we don't want that, because the innate intelligence of our body will understand that it's getting replaced, and it'll find, places to put your other energy. Okay. So those 2 were on the topic. I thought this was good. Rosemary and sage for Alzheimer's. A study highlighted a compound in rosemary and sage showing promise against Alzheimer's disease. And there could be a little bit of risk with that, but it's in that herbal remedies for cognitive health. So that's pretty cool. I thought that was a good one. And then valerian root for insomnia. Now, if you've heard this before, most people that have had trouble sleeping have tried first melatonin and then usually valerian root. Those are the 2 majors that come out. A lot of different options, though, in sleep. Just remember that as you go. Some things I can think of right away: chamomile, hops, those kind of things. But valerian root is a good one, for especially if you're like an insomniac, because the problem with the melatonin initiates sleep, but it doesn't keep you asleep. So a lot of people that have trouble just staying asleep, valerian root might be your better option. Okay, so those are some good ones. And the last one is kind of a warning, because we're starting to finally see studies from all these different drugs. It's not just your kidneys, folks. We know about a certain medicine a day, and they started saying, hey, probably don't do that, because we don't want you in dialysis because your kidneys will get damaged. Now there's a huge risk and a rising in the drug-induced liver injury. So it's called DILI, drug-induced liver injury. Okay, so just remember that they are saying, oh, that's interesting. They're actually adding herbal and dietary supplements could do that to you as well. So remember that when you're looking into just various liver detox type of situations. It looks like watching it or working with it, like let's say myself, like a registered herbalist or something, with supplements like turmeric and kava. That's interesting. Those two are very, very power. I'll do some more research on before I believe that. Sometimes they like to put a little scare tactics out there. So well, I'll do a little more digging on that just to make sure. But just remember, your liver is important. So if you've, and it's amazing how you don't find a study that says, what we know is like all the seed oils and, those kind of things. We don't magically have there's a liver problem. But I digress. So it's one of those where, of course, they're going right after turmeric and kava, which is fascinating because I've seen them do a certain supplement out there that they were wrong on very, very much. Remember how eggs were? Remember they were like the evil thing that caused all kinds of cholesterol. So just make sure you're researching more than one study, right? Because a lot of times there could be, it's a very well-paid study. Therefore, if you want the job again, maybe you make sure the numbers work, if you know what I mean. All right. So let's go into tonight's show, which I hope you enjoy. We're going to do some healthy motivation. Okay. So we're going to do some great quotes from some chiropractors and other holistic people. I cannot wait. I forgot about one that I love. Some of you know who he is. His name is Wayne Dyer. And his books were extraordinary. So as we go, I want you to just enjoy the ride tonight. Not a lot of books. Don't have to do too much because I'm so excited to show you these pictures. I think they're going to show up on the screen. Rachel and I went to a place called Hocking Hills, Ohio. It's just like south of Columbus, but it's just in like the mountain region. There's a ton of like cave waterfall hikes. There's about 6 or 7 of them. And our goal was to just see how we did. So I introduced Rachel to what they're called trek poles. Trek poles are a way to hike, and actually when you have these two poles, right? So as you're walking with these 2 poles, it allows your body to like utilize less and less energy. So a lot of times going up a hill or something like that, you leave your legs are a lot stronger. So I recommend these highly. You get to go further with these trek poles. You can get some, like mine are kind of higher end that I really, really like. But oh my goodness, they made the world a difference, like going through all these hiking trails. And so this is my version of good pictures. So I'm really proud of one. So just to let you know. Okay. So this first one, I believe, if you guys can see it on there, this first one is, I think this is called Ash's Cave. I think that's what this one was. When we get back there, you're thinking, okay, lower part of Ohio, we're not thinking much in terms of hiking. Oh my God. I would pick this all the time. The rock formations were incredible. Absolutely incredible. Here's one of the waterfalls. Oh, I can't remember what the waterfall was called, but if you ever go down there, it's really, really cool. So that's one of them. And this river, it just rained the day before. So that is the flow, right? And this is another one. This is, I think this is called Old Man's Cave. This one was huge and massive. I always just think of like, look at the pure majesty of like the light going through there. These trees that are growing out of rocks where it doesn't even make sense, and it just inspires you. And it was here's what's crazy. Before I keep going, on Friday down in Ohio, is Southern Ohio. So it was a pretty good haul. It was 96 degrees out, right? 96. Now up here, it was pretty hot. It was in the 90s or whatever. But Rachel and I were kind of like, can these Michigan people get this done? Once we got in the woods where that amazing oxygen was going, and then the shade of the trees and all the different ferns and everything else. It was almost you felt at least 10 degrees less. And yeah, you were sweaty. It was gross, like when we got done. But oh my God, it was such an incredible rush because you weren't really, getting in there. So these are just some. This is my wonderful wife, Rachel. She was doing amazing as the hike. She was a little nervous because she hasn't done this type of hiking in a really long time. This is the shot I'm super proud of. Hopefully you guys can see this bad boy. Yeah, that's right. You get the sun going on this moss. It's just incredible. Rachel's the better, definitely the better photographer. So I should have grabbed her pictures. But it's truly awe-inspiring, and like as you're watching all this like beautiful, everything, right? And so that was really, really cool to see, all these things. Okay. So now what we're going to do tonight, we're going to go into some of my favorite quotes. Some of my favorite. First, we're going to start with the guy named Dr. Reggie Gould. Reggie Gould is fantastic. He was one of the best chiropractic philosophers like in our time. He saw a massive practice down in the southern part. In fact, so many chiropractors were so jealous of him that because he got to call his place Gold Chiropractic, so they would get mad at him and try to sue him and things like that. But it's literally his last name. So he's written several books and has some great quotes. So what I want to do is kind of walk through all these different quotes and then kind of explain them if they need explanation. Okay. So hopefully you'll have a fun night tonight, and maybe one will inspire you to understand why we do the 1% tribe. Okay. Why we're asking you to do 1% better each and every day. That's all I ask. 1%. Like, what are you going to do tomorrow in your health to be 1% better than you were yesterday? Okay. So, all right, here we go. All right. You see my beautiful picture there? All right. So we're going to start with Reggie Gould. Chiropractic is not about treating disease. It's about releasing life. Okay. One of the things that gets caught up in our world now is that because we see a chiropractor, doctor, we only take care of our health when we see the absence of that health. We only take care of our health when we see the absence of that health. That makes us a sick care society. Sick care. It's all we do. We do things when we get sick. This started hurting, so I did something about it. Okay. What we're trying to say is that if you use chiropractic as a tool in your toolbox, a way to make sure the balance is there, the immune system is functioning right, the communication system of your nervous system is working right, because all your spinal bones are where they're supposed to be, right? All those muscles and nerves are working properly. Our job as a chiropractor, in some senses, is to evaluate how your body's doing today, right? And that's why we push so much. That's why when you hear that hilarious one that I hear all the time, oh man, if you go to a chiropractor, you got to keep going all the time. They like suck you in, and it's crazy. It's like an addictive thing. And Dr. Geimer, I will give him credit for my favorite line of all time. I heard him say, I was interning with him, and a patient said to that, he was joking with Dr. Geimer. He said, oh yeah, Dr. Guy, once you come and get adjusted, you got to keep coming every day, all the time. You got to just keep coming. Dr. Geimer looked right at him and goes, you're right, sir. I tried to work out once a year. I tried to do an exercise routine once a year. Didn't get me very far. I felt really good, though. I felt really good in that one time a year. If you only work out one time a year, you ain't going to get anywhere either. How about brushing your teeth? How about eating right? These are all things that you're going to have to do on a consistent basis. Why not get your spine checked? That is the biggest part of chiropractic. Once we understand that, life changes quite a bit. Okay. And then this one I have always loved. The power that made the body heals the body. Really doesn't need a lot of explanation, except for when we talk about we have this intelligence within us called the innate intelligence. That innate intelligence runs all the matter, runs every cell that we ever have. In fact, that same intelligence is what created us. And so, if we allow it to do its job, if we allow that innate intelligence to do what it's supposed to do and continue down that path, the world, you will heal. You will heal, right? We just have to make sure we are doing our part and not interfering with that healing. Okay. So that was a good quote. Here's the next quote. You can't improve on perfection. You can only interfere with it. So, from a chiropractic perspective, we believe that we are perfect. We believe that we were put on this earth by God as a perfection. Okay. It's only when something interferes with that perfection that we have issues, that we have health or sicknesses. Right. And so it's a big thing to think about, but the job is, and the role is to understand that you are perfect. You have the ability to be perfect. We just have to find and keep working until we get all the interferences and everything out of the way so that our body can truly heal. Okay. That's why we talk about getting rid of toxins, getting rid of internet, radiation frequency. We get, like all these different things. These are big pieces. Getting rid of fake food, right? Fake food, that doesn't help anybody, right? Okay. Now the last one from Dr. Reggie Gold, subluxations. Subluxations are when a spinal bone is misaligned, causing nerve interference, all kinds of different situations, not just the nerve part, but the joint and the muscle and all those kind of things. So when we say subluxation, that's what it means. Subluxations steal life. Adjustments restore it. So what happens to a misaligned car? Your car is out of alignment. How good is your life of that car? How good is the life of that car? Not very good. Eventually, you're going to have some wear and tear and you're going to have some issues. If you have a perfectly aligned car, though, you get more and more out of that each and every time. All right. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this. Give me a thumbs up if you do. I hope. I know it's a little off, but holy crap. 10 miles in the hiking. You're lucky I did not cancel it. No, I'm just kidding. I just love doing it. So that's why I was like, oh, this will be fun tonight. Okay. So now we're going to go on to a different one. So this one is, this is going to be the next probably the most quoted man in all of chiropractic. His name was B.J. Palmer. B.J. Palmer was the son of the guy that discovered chiropractic. He's the one that created the chiropractic college. He's the innovator. He's the one that took chiropractic to the level it is probably currently today. He saw that it could be, an answer to the sick care model that is as our current healthcare system, even back then, right? It was still the same system. It was still sick care, right? And so when you hear him, understand this is the guy that we had sayings all over our chiropractic school. It was amazing. So I'm going to do a few of these and hopefully you enjoy them. All right. This is from B.J. Palmer. The preservation of health is easier than the cure of disease. The preservation of your health is much easier. Well, I added that. Is much easier than the cure of the disease. So the more you preserve your health, the more you take care of it, the more you take care of this body, the better you'll do. One of my favorite quotes from another guy, Dr. Mitch Malley. Well, one of these days I might have him on. He'd be fun to talk to. But Dr. Mitch Malley has this one, treat your body like you just bought a Corvette. Because most of us treat our body like we have bought a Chevette. I love that one. That was a quote from Miss Dr. Malley. Remember that. If you went to, to the store and bought I don't even know how much a Corvette is right now. Probably $95,000. Are you not going to do the oil changes? Are you not going to discern each piece? Yeah, you are. Yes, you are. And if we're going to definitely do that on a Corvette, Rachel and I, when we were driving back, we saw this whole Mustang. It must have been a car show. Oh my goodness. The Mustangs that kept coming out of this one place. It was Mustangs and then Corvettes. It was like, woo, wherever the car show was, that was an epic car show. But those guys know ins and outs of that, right? How come we don't do that with our health? Oh, good. Thank you, Julie. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I got some good ones too. Okay. So another one from BJ Palmer I really like is a quote that says, chiropractic is health insurance with premiums paid in full by an all-wise creator. This one gives me chills because chiropractic is health insurance. Chiropractic, because the premiums get paid to you in sevenfold. Why do I keep saying, and you can use this not just for chiropractic, but a 1% health improvement. If I know tomorrow that I'm going to work on my health some way tomorrow, okay, and you get that 1% in there, you've created your own health insurance that will give you the premium beyond what you ever dreamed. Your cells will literally change. So constantly working on your health in the physical, the mental, and the chemical, right? Any of those three ways, it's going to be fantastic. I love that one though. All right. Innate intelligence. Okay, so this is the next quote from BJ. Innate intelligence gets well by its own processes, not by ours. Okay. Let me read that again. Innate intelligence gets well by its own processes, not by ours. This is huge. This is a huge understanding because I see it even in the holistic health space as well. It's the innate intelligence that's going to understand the processes of the human body that are going to make you feel better, give you the performance you want, or any of those things. We are not going to manipulate that, hack it, which is I hear all the time. Our job is to give it every tool available so that it can fulfill its processes, not to replace the processes that are there. Think about the amount of the medical that this is occurring in. Do you think if you ended up having a pacemaker put in, that's better than the pacemaker you were born with? Do you think, let's see, let's say you put a pain stimulator injected into you. Do you think that is something that's better than the pain nerves and the hormones and the balance that your body can actually do? I'm not against any of these things, but is it better? Is it better than the process? Right. And that's why I always warned, even like last Wednesday, we talked about, the supplements that replace functions in the human body. One of your biggest questions from our 1% tribe and throughout is, does this supplement replace something that my body is making? Because we don't ever want to do that. Maybe for a short term, you could and help it stimulate. But the problem is we don't want to do that long term because the body's processes are what makes us better. It's not our processes. The Band-Aid we put on the cut does not fix the cut. Okay. The blood clotting mechanism fixes the clot. Think about that. Next time. Oh, and here's an experiment. Seriously do this. So if you about age, let's say 3, 4, somewhere in there, go up to that child. And this is one of my most amazing things. If you have a small child in your life like this and you cut and they get a cut, so they need a Band-Aid, probably a kiss from mom or dad, right? So now the next question is, you put the Band-Aid on the cut. You ask the child, what is fix it? what's going to happen when we put the Band-Aid on the cut? It's going to heal up, or it's going to get better. I was like, what makes it get better? The Band-Aid. Interesting. We taught at a very young age that the Band-Aid is actually getting the cut better, right? It's like the pill, the prescription. Oh, I take blood pressure medicine or whatever it is. Well, that made the blood pressure better. No, it didn't. It absolutely did not. If you get off the blood pressure medicine, it's not better. It didn't, the body's processes didn't create it to be better, right? So we can't say those things. Anything outside of us, anytime we have to take something from outside in to fix the problem, then we still have a health journey to go on. Okay. So remember that. The cutest one is when they think that mom or dad's kiss actually cures it, which is hard for me not to say, yes, that is true. No, I'm just kidding. You got to tell you, that's a good time to teach the kids, like, your body's doing that. Right. So that is pretty cool. All right. So that was a good one. Now, here's one of my favorite authors of all time. The next guy, if there's so many different books on him that I just soaked up pretty much every one. If you ever get to it, there's one by Wayne Dyer called Inspiration. Inspiration was profound for me. I don't know if it just hit at the right time in my life or any of these things, but Wayne Dyer is a phenomenal author on understanding, like, our role of who we are, in these type of things. Okay. So Wayne Dyer's quote: "You cannot always control what goes on outside, but you can always control what goes on inside." Right. So one of the reasons health is so cool, when you start to look at it and understand that I can take these little steps towards my own health, whether it's just walking one step, you have control of it. You get to control that inside. You get to do those things on the way up there. Because a lot of times you're not going to be able to control everything from the outside, right? Things will happen to you, and you got to be able to, you have to have that ability to adapt. And the only thing you have control over on that is the inside. That makes sense. Okay. I love this one. This is one I kind of live by. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. It's pretty profound. When you see something that's overwhelming, it stays overwhelming. But if I say, that's a task that's hard, but I can do it, the thing just became hard, but I can do it. See what I'm saying? When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Love that quote. All right. Now, let's go on to the next quote. This one's fantastic as well. Every thought you have is a message you send to your body. Choose thoughts that promote health, not fear. So this one's a good one. So I'll read it one more time and we'll talk about it a little bit. Every thought you have is a message you send to your body. Choose thoughts that promote health, not fear. All in perspective, right? So you get something, you have different health issues that you want to, attack. Julie, one that you had to attack a little differently. And because you did, you recovered really, really well. And I know you're recovering today, on that kind of situation. But it was because she gave herself healing thoughts versus fearful thoughts on the same exact process. I've seen this. I can't tell you how many times. I'm going to probably have her on again. One of my interviews. I'm going to try to get some more interviews, especially for these inspirational times. I have a lady that I'd love to walk through her husband's, I think it was 3 or 4 years of chronic cancer, and he just kept beating it because his entire thought process was so different than I'd ever had met. And he just kept doing it. And it was profound. But you can do this stuff. You just have to remember, working on your health isn't just about, exercising or eating right. It's about thinking right as well. And that's what really gets people off the schneid. Health is not about the absence of disease, but the presence of vitality, joy, and inner peace. So we're not just going to because nothing hurts, right? We don't want to be that person that's like, okay, I'm healthy because nothing hurts. That's not fun. I want to be joyful. I want to do all these things. I want to be exuberant with life. You want to have a nice inner peace. If you're not hurting, go for even a bigger section, right? A bigger section. Let's go have some happiness. Let's start moving a little bit. Let's throw the ball around. One of the neatest things that happened this weekend, I'm going to tell you right now. Rachel, so we get out there and it's 95 degrees. Okay, we're going to start this. There's two things that happen. You have to drive. So we had to drive, but you know how it's just so dumb. Some of these places where we were staying, you couldn't get in till like 4. So we're like, all right, well, let's go hiking, before we check in. So we get there about noon. so we're about noon. And we start right away. So we go to, there's 3 hikes we wanted to do minimum on that day. So we get out there and it's hot. It's 96 or so, but we had prepared. We had all the right stuff. And as we're going, we're walking and we're doing our thing and we're just enjoying it. And you can feel the heat start hitting us. And I felt it. And Rachel was getting a little nervous. In the sense of, can I make this? Is Jeremy going to push me too far? Because I have a hard time. I sometimes will do that. Do that with a lot of things in my life. But she didn't want to be the disappointment, right? She didn't want to be I'm like, oh my God. She didn't know she had it in herself. So she kind of started getting quiet. Started getting a dehydrated. The heat was hitting her, and all these things, but she didn't want to let down, right? And part of me was so, me and her talked about it. I was like, don't do it for that. Let's do it for joy. Don't do it just because you want to not let me down. It's your hike. We can do whatever we want, right? So it was just her and I. And I think it was just kind of neat to watch as she just grew in her confidence as we did it. Because our last hike of the next day, so we did about 10 or 12 miles in hiking, and you're talking some terrain. So there's some ups and downs and mountains and stairs, and Jeremy's not a height guy, and there's this like cliff gorge you had to go around. Not a big fan. I was like in the woods. Staying away from the edge of that sucker. But it was so beautiful, and those kind of things. But to see her mindset and getting through that whole thing, and then the accomplishment. The first day, she didn't think we'd get through all 3. We blew through them. And then we had just an enjoyable time celebrating that too, right? So if it's there, celebrate it. Give your high five. If you ever heard me work out, you would die. So I'll be working out. And I want to get through this one certain workout I do, right? Whatever the workout is that day. And it's tough and it sucks. And usually I'm doing it by myself because I got my own, gym here. I got a little, pole barn that has all the stuff in it. So I'm going, and you will hear me yell from the rooftops once I do an imaginary high five. I get all pumped up like when I get through that workout. And I will never change that. In a gym, I might not do that as much, but when I'm on my own, I get to like fist pump and get all kinds of crazy on that. So just remember, your mindset is the key. Your mindset will always be the key. And so if we can keep doing those things, we're going to be a lot better off. So remember that we're not going just for health. We're going for vitality, joy, and inner peace. Vitality, joy, and inner peace. Okay. So this one, there's 2 more articles. Man, this is going good, I think. All right. So there's 2 more quote people that I want to talk about. His name was, okay, so this is the Tao Te Ching. This is something I learned from Wayne Dyer that's fantastic. This is like 2,000-year-old writings. His name was Lao Tzu. There are it's a very short book. If you ever wanted to read something very profound, it's called the Tao Te Ching, but it's spelled Tao. So remember that, but it's pronounced Tao Te Ching. Okay. So it's a very old, predates almost every book out there. So, but the statements are phenomenal. So here is one that I had them look up, ones that had to do with health. And this one is good. Not knowing is true knowledge. Okay. So not knowing is true knowledge. Presuming to know is disease. This couldn't be more right if he wrote it today. Not knowing is true knowledge. Presuming to know is a disease. What in the world do they do to us in every social media aspect, every news article, everything? They claim their expertise, give you half of the truth, and then you go and try a supplement, let's say, and it doesn't work, or it doesn't get you where you want to go. It's because they weren't honest. I don't know what I'm doing giving you this supplement, but it could be good. You see what I'm saying? The knowledge that you have now, where I say, look up what you're taking, making sure you're doing the research on whatever you're doing, like whatever supplementation comes around the next TikTok video, make sure you're really researching it. Don't get sucked into the hype. That is what advertising has done forever. Big Pharma's been doing that for years. Falling into this exact category that this guy was written 2,500, 3,000 years ago, not knowing. The understanding that you don't know is really true knowledge. But if you presume that you do know, it's a disease. And so you're going to presume, so you're not going to do the research, and then you're going to have not the outcome you're looking for. Okay. So hopefully that made sense. Oh, this one's a good one too, from the Tao Te Ching. Can you cleanse your inner vision until you see nothing but light? Can you cleanse your inner vision until you see nothing but light? Thinking simply, clearing the mind might be the most profound thing you do for your health in any time frame. I struggle with this pretty hard. I feel sometimes that I feel accomplished when I get a lot of things done, but I don't sit down and allow that brain space to become the light, to be so clear, to be so that it's there. When I started doing meditation and really silencing my brain, where you're just kind of emptying it completely out, you see these things, right? And so what he's saying is get simplistic. Try to do that meditation. Try to get that quiet mind, because if you can quiet that mind, you can restart it in a better place if you need to. Okay. All right. So then one of my favorites on epigenetics, which if you don't know, I have a couple epigenetic videos out there. I'll probably do some more epigenetics where you can actually change your genes. This is Dr. Bruce Lipton. His book is called The Biology of Belief. Definitely worth the time to read that if you ever want to. And this is his quotes that I'm going to go through. Most illness is just stress from not living in harmony. That makes sense, right? The other quotes that I've had. Most illness is just stress from not living in harmony. So you get a stomach issue, you get irritable bowel, or, those kind of things. It is a stress because we're not living in harmony somehow. Our job is to start living in harmony. Start figuring out what it is. Is it a stomach thing? Is it a mental thing? Is it a chemical thing? Is it a physical? It could be any of those. Because your job at this point is to start living in that harmonic way, making sure everything and as healthy as I possibly can. And then you're going to see those diseases kind of do what they do, kind of fade away. The moment, this is the next quote, the moment you change your perception, is the moment you rewrite the chemistry of your body. Whoa, that's pretty big. So whatever you're thinking, your chemical makeup will be. And yeah, absolutely. So the moment you start to think, it's even proven, the more relaxation, go to a comedy club and you laugh your butt off so hard. How come you feel so good coming out of there? It's because of the endorphins and the hormones and everything. Take it to that level of like, you feel that good. You see a great movie. What happens? Your energy gets up, right? My daughters and I went to a Karate Kid together. It was really fun. They didn't do a good job in ads, so who knows if it'll do good. We thought it was great, but we had the best time in discussion. Like, ooh, this could have been, they could have brought this character in, and we just get excited once you do. You go to one movie theater. We always do one experience. At least try to go once a month if you got a good movie to go to. But they are fantastic. But think about those thoughts. So if I can stay in that mode, what happens? Can I stay unhealthy? Think about you have a headache. Okay. I'll give you a great one. Let's say you have a horrible headache and a dog sits on your lap with its nose right in your lap. And it's just begging you to pet it. Does your headache go down a little bit? Does it? It does. It absolutely does. You get the hug from your kid or you get your hug from your loved one. Something makes you laugh. I always laugh because I have these chickens as well. I have a pain in the butt corgi that's waiting for me to be done with you guys so that she can whine at me about getting her a bone. But I smile every time and I go get her that bone because it's really good. Not good for her and her. Okay, so me and her have a relationship, and we struggle a little bit with the weight, so we gotta like get her off a little bit of these bones. That's what my daughters are saying, but it's tough when she gives you those looks. Okay. All right, the last quote of the night, and I'll leave you guys there. To fully thrive, we must not only eliminate the stressors, but also actively seek joyful, loving, fulfilling lives that stimulate the growth process. Okay. To fully thrive, we must not only eliminate the stressors, which we've talked about a lot, but we must actively go out there and seek joyful, loving, fulfilling lives that stimulate the growth process. Okay. One of the things that we've known in cells, there's only two things that your cell will do overall. It'll either be just trying to stay alive, or what I call the protection phase, or it's trying to grow. Growth allows for cells to move, and a lot of different things will happen. Protection is to try to reserve what you have currently. So if you think of those two things, if my body's in complete growth phase, I'm improving things. Did you know, like what we talked about with the biofield, you could actually grow your own stem cells? You can grow your own stem cells. It's true. The more healthy you live, the better you do. And you find those different situations, you eat right, you do all those things. Stem cells will occur, right? And that's a no-brainer, right? But if I'm in protection, I'm not really caring about growing or doing anything new or stem cell or healing. Why would I heal? I'm trying to protect my heart and my brain from dying, right? So if you stay in this protective mode, a lot of times you're not going to be able to do a lot of those things, literally reversing your health into a sick care model or sick care just in general. So remember that one, and I'll leave you on that one tonight. To fully thrive, we must not only eliminate the stressors, but also actively seek joyful, loving, fulfilling lives that stimulate the growth process. All right. That's pretty awesome. Hopefully you guys enjoyed tonight. Give you a little food for thought. Go subscribe to my Rumble channel so you can listen to it again if this is your first time watching, or the actual podcast. So that'll be up shortly. I really appreciate you guys putting up with me in this tonight's episode. Next week will be something on some type of herbal. We'll have to see what I haven't covered yet, and so we'll go after it. So with that, you guys have a great night.